Hi everyone, my name is John Bell. I work at Twitter in the live video infrastructure team. And today I'll be talking about a product that we released earlier this year. So my team supports both Twitter Live as well as Periscope. And we added the functionality to become a guest in a user-generated live video. Today I will be talking about the infrastructure that supports this. However, this is a 10-minute talk, so I will be skipping over a lot of the details, which means if you are curious, you can come and find me after my talk or during the happy hour. I'm usually better at talking about this, after I have a couple of drinks in me anyway. So, cool. So this is the product. So here you see someone broadcasting using their mobile phone, and then someone in the audience is requesting to be a guest. And then once the broadcaster allows them to do so, then they're essentially conversing over WebRTC. So here there are a couple of things that we changed with this product. Number one is you saw that the broadcaster was ingesting content using WebRTC. And then second thing is this content was converted into HLS and broadcasted to the audience. And then the third thing is anyone in the audience was able to call in and become a guest, which means they would be switching from HLS to WebRTC and then back once their session is done. So any group chat obviously starts with at least 2 people, and one thing that we have to do is we have to connect them over the internet. The first thing that you do is you need to provide them a way to find each other, right? The discovery. So this is very common WebRTC thing. There's a signaling service that we maintain, and then this allows the clients and users to discover each other's IPN ports. And once they do, then they can just use WebRTC to connect to each other. So that's basic WebRTC, nothing that we invented. However, this doesn't scale well when you have more people in the group chat, and our product allows up to 4 people to converse with each other. So because the uplink is precious, and we want to give the people the ability to ingest the best quality they can provide, this doesn't really scale well. So a common practice to avoid uploading content to every single participant is using a selective forwarding unit. Selective forwarding unit is nothing fancy. It's just a server, and it acts as one of the participants. So clients connect to the SFU using WebRTC, and then they publish their content, and then they can subscribe to other participants' content using the server. This way, they only ingest content once, and then they consume content from the other participants. All right. So in our case, like I said, SFU acts as a WebRTC peer. And we make it such that these servers have public IP and port addresses, which means it's really easy to connect to them. However, we don't control the other side of the internet, where our clients obviously are behind some network, and there are NATs and there are firewalls. So in this context, sometimes they're not accessible directly through their IP and port addresses. And another common thing that you do when you have WebRTC is you use Turn. So Turn essentially is a proxy server that converts WebRTC. Essentially, you connect to Turn using TCP, and you proxy your RTP content using Turn into your peer. This allows you to get around your network limitations. One thing that we have done here is turn doesn't require you to serve the traffic over any specific port. Also doesn't require you to encrypt your content. But what we have done is we restricted the turn access to the port 443, and we always enforce encryption. And what this helped us to do is we essentially can get around almost any network condition, because even in the most restrictive networks, let's say hotel networks, where you only have access to HTTPS, typically the network admins can't really differentiate this type of traffic from HTTPS. There's another benefit to having turn, and that is even if the clients are able to connect to the SFU directly, we actually select an SFU that is closest to the broadcaster. So when the broadcaster is going live for the first time, they make a call, and then we identify where they are and which server would be the best for them. However, the guests, we are operating a global network, and people watch each other from all sorts of different places. So let's say the broadcaster is in North America, and we selected a server that is located in North America as well. If the guest is calling in from let's say Europe, a turn server that is closer to the guest might actually provide better performance than connecting directly to the SFU. So that is the high-level WebRTC and group chat infrastructure. And then there's the piece that allows us to take this data and then ingest it and create a broadcast out of it. So here, I kind of just made a big blog of all the services that go into this. And this is highly, highly simplified. But the essence of it is we have this video manager service. And one design decision that we made is because we have control over the mobile clients and the ingest, we restricted the video to H.264. So typically WebRTC initially supported VP9, and recently also H.264. And we don't support VP9 in our case. We restrict the content to H.264 because it allows us to avoid transcoding on the server side. One thing that we have to do, though, is we have to transcode the audio content, because the audio content that's coming in is Opus, and that's the only choice with WebRTC. So when you ingest the video, the RTP packets are coming into our server, and we send the audio packets into our transcoder service, and then we get AAC back from the transcode service on ingest, and then we mux it together into an HLS stream. One thing that you're seeing here, actually, I guess not here, is we had two choices when we were thinking of forwarding these packets, the RTP packets incoming from the clients, into our backend service. That is, we could act as one of the peers in WebRTC, or we decided to go with the easy route because we don't want to support lossy network conditions. We just open up a long-lasting connection over TCP, and then we serialize the RTP packets into our backend. Another thing that I want to mention is, we're talking about group chats, so we can have multiple people ingesting content at the same time. One thing that we do is we take all the audio packets that are incoming from different users, and then we mix them down into a single audio channel. So when we pass through the transcoder, what we get is a single audio channel that contains all the audio signals from all users. And then essentially at the end of the HLS manifest, it's just you see one video channel and then one audio channel containing all the data that we have. The details of how we do LHLS is, I'm not going to touch any of them, but we have a talk tomorrow morning by Mark Common, and he will be talking in depth about how we do LHLS at Twitter. And it's different than what Apple does. Before I end my talk, this is something that I want to mention. So we have, like I said, we have a simple HLS stream with one video channel and one audio channel, but we also need to transmit the data about who the guests are, what their usernames, what their profile pictures look like, and then their audio levels in order to drive the UI around it. So one option that we had was, we could essentially, make a call to a server and then get this metadata. But what we didn't want is unreliability around showing, or playing people's audio without displaying the UI around it. So another design choice that we made is we wanted to bake all the metadata also into the video data itself. So our TS segments periodically have ID3 tags that contain all this metadata, including the usernames, audio levels, etc. for all guests. And then the players, they just need to parse this information and then drive the UI accordingly. And that is it. Questions?
Anybody?
So it's a single rate delivery. You don't do adaptive bit rate delivery to audience.
That is correct, only in the context of user-generated content. So when we do live video ingest, we do have transcoding on multi-bitrate delivery. However, for this product specifically, yes, we only have a single video bitrate, and that is the bitrate that the ingest determines.
And you said you have multiple broadcasters, so the video you're delivering or the manifest you show, M3U8, has then segments that are basically parallel, and the end user selects one of them because they are happening at the same time?
The manifest itself, I just put it out there as an example. It's not a real manifest that we publish. But in the case that we had, those were just TS segments, list of TX segments. The product itself does not allow the guests to share their video at this point. So it's only audio content that's incoming. Therefore, the output is the main broadcaster video and then the audio, including all audio but mixed down into one single channel.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay, let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much.